Hello, I'm Jeff, and this is Snap Talk, your podcast supplement. Well, the September 2018 Nintendo Direct has come and gone, with the only hitch being the earthquake in Sapporo. And while I can't say it was the best one like some others on here, it definitely felt like one of the best. Of course, your opinion may vary depending on your choice of game. And while there are a number of things you can take away, here are 5 I found to be of importance. Number 1. We may not be getting the Virtual Console, but we are getting a ton of retro gaming. Now, this doesn't just mean the NES collection for Switch Online. This has been happening consistently since the system launched with the Arcade Archives, and has continued with the likes of Johnny Turbo's Arcade. Older publishers have also been getting into the mix, like the Namco Museum, which not only featured the original Splatterhouse, but will also get a physical release later this month paired with Pac-Man Championship Edition 2+. Capcom Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, and the Mega Man and Mega Man X collections. Plus, there's numerous remasters of classics like the Crash Insane Trilogy, Ultra Street Fighter II The Final Challengers, Romancing Saga 2, and Wild Guns Reloaded. Aside from the NES collection, this Direct was also the launching ground for Capcom's Beat 'em Up Bundle, which will feature a number of classic action arcade games, at least 2 of which will be making console debuts. There's also the remaster of Katamari Damacy, and the remix of The World Ends With You, and then there's the games we know are coming but couldn't make the Direct, like the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, Atari Flashbacks, Nintendo's Versus games from Arcade Archives, Dark Souls Remastered, Disgaea 1 Complete, Tales of Vesperia, and Grandia 1 and 2 Remastered. It may not be perfect, but Switch owners aren't exactly getting left in the dust either. Oh, and Square Enix is bringing over some older Final Fantasy games. Which brings us to our second point. Number 2. Square Enix is going all in on Switch. Kind of. This one is more about perception than reality. In reality, Square Enix has been supporting the system since day one with I Am Setsuna, and had even revealed Octopath Traveler at the Switch event in January 2017. And while that might be it to some, along with Lost Sphere and Dragon Quest Builders, both of which had some decent hype, there have been other games that released as well, just not to much fanfare. Romancing Saga 2 was dropped in as a way to gauge interest in Saga Scarlet Grace, Spelunker Party and Fear Effect Sedna came and went, and Gosha dropped with almost nothing behind it. And then there's the Japan-only releases like Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, the Mana Trilogy Collection, and the aforementioned Saga Scarlet Grace. It seemed like the only big title on the horizon was The World Ends With You Final Remix. But then the Direct happened, and we've suddenly become swamped with Final Fantasy titles. Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition was released immediately, more on this later. Crystal Chronicles is getting remastered. Chocobo's Dungeon is getting remade. The remasters of 10, 10-2, and 12 are coming next year. World of Final Fantasy is releasing in November, and PlayStation 1 Classics 7 and 9 are coming next year. That's 9 Final Fantasy games releasing in a year and a half, and only 2 were originally made for Nintendo systems. Now, it should also be mentioned that a good chunk of that will also be coming to Xbox One as well, which could make for a good point about Final Fantasy no longer being the domain of PlayStation. Let's call that point 2A. But at the very least, Square Enix is showing trust in the system to bring the biggest of guns to the table. Well, almost. Number 3. If you want the real thing, you'll probably need the cloud. We all know that the Switch was underpowered compared to the PS4 and Xbox One. Doom and Wolfenstein 2 had to be edited quite a bit to accommodate for the system. WWE 18 and NBA 2K are poor ports, and Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't coming over at all. So it's not a big surprise that Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition is the version that we're getting. It's still the same game, but chibi-fied and with some things streamlined. The story is the same, the characters are the same, it's just that the open world aspects and some side quests were removed. It's also a much smaller version of the game, which is good if you have limited space on your Switch. I recently bought the PC version, and that's about 83 gigabytes. Steam said it would take roughly a day and a half to download, and given how long it took to download Dragon Quest XI, I believe it. So there are positives to it. But what about those looking for the full experience? Well, there is a way, just not one you might like or have access to at the moment. In Japan, they've been trying out cloud gaming with select games. Unfortunately, Final Fantasy XV isn't one of those. But the ones they've been trying it with are Resident Evil 7 and the recently announced Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Some have tried it here with mixed results, but it sounds like it works well in Japan, which makes sense since that's where the servers are. Remember, cloud gaming works by putting a game on a dedicated server that crunches all the numbers for you, and your system just displays the game instead of trying to run it, so proximity to the server is important. Again, like with retro games, it's not perfect, but it's what works with the current model. Now we just need to get cloud gaming over here instead of just Japan. Speaking of which, number 4, Nintendo is listening when it comes to games, but still tone deaf when it comes to communication. Nintendo is showing some weird consistency when it comes to listening to customers. When it comes to games, they are listening and doing whatever they can. You want Metroid Prime 4? You are getting Metroid Prime 4. You want all the characters in Smash plus a bunch of others? You're getting it. You want a proper Pokemon to play on the TV? You may say it's not coming this year, but it's definitely coming next year. You want Luigi's Mansion on Switch? You're getting Luigi's Mansion on Switch. You like Animal Crossing? You get Animal Crossing. So yeah, on the games front, they're working at giving us what we're asking for. Not so much on the technical side of things, though. People have been asking for native voice chat on the system since it was released. Unfortunately, it is only available for a small number of third-party games. First-party titles? You're stuck using the Nintendo Switch app on your iPhone. This is not only confusing as it's available to use on the system, just see Fortnite, but it comes off as tone-deaf and stubborn on the side of Nintendo as they continue to drag their heels on this one. And I should say that it appears to be Nintendo of Japan digging in on this one. Nintendo of America seems about as confused as anyone else on this side of the Pacific. And finally, number 5, Nintendo really wants to hit those financial goals. This seems like a no-duh moment. I mean, what company in the business of selling you stuff wouldn't want to hit their financial goals? But if you look at what's coming, you'll understand why I'm saying that. On the software side, Nintendo's big releases for the next 4 months are as follows. October has Super Mario Party. November has Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. December has Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And January has new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Quick question, Nintendo. Why is the U still in the title? I already thought they would hit their 100 million software goal this year, but this just seals it. It makes me think they'll go well beyond that number by the time their year ends. On the hardware side, things seem a bit slower, but they are getting a shot in the arm this fall. The first is the Pokemon Switch bundles coming in November, complete with one of the Let's Go games, special Joy-Cons, and the Pokeball Plus controller. And then there's the Super Smash Bros. Switch bundle coming with a download code and special Joy-Cons. And I'm still confused why this is coming a full month before the game releases. They are really throwing everything at the wall to make that 20 million mark. It might not work, but they are at least giving it a go. And those are my 5 takeaways, well, 6 now, from the Nintendo Direct. If you liked what you heard and want to see more, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. If you have other thoughts you took away from the Direct, let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you have other ideas for future episodes, let us know in the comments. I'm Jeff from Some Nerdy Arguments, and I'll talk to you soon.
Arms against invading monsters and strategically select from a variety of battle commands. When the situation calls for it, enlist the aid of fellow villagers to surmount powerful threats. What secret does the village harbor? Find out when Town releases in 2019.